And welcome to another Cardinals Nest here on HBC Channel 25. Dean Beckman along with St. Mary's Sports Information Director Donny Nadeau on the sports show here on HBC devoted exclusively to St. Mary's University athletics. Coming up soon here, we'll talk about the past week in Cardinals sports, get you caught up on that. And then later in the program, Donny will have a chance to preview both the women's and men's basketball season, and we'll take a special look at the men's season as they are getting set to tip things off in Texas this upcoming weekend, Saturday and Sunday. They'll be in a tournament down there, and we'll talk to head coach Todd Landrum coming up shortly.
Yeah, it'd be good to get Coach on and talk a little bit about the season and what he expects. And, really, it's interesting. I was talking to him off camera about the trip itself because it's kind of a neat opportunity. Most of our teams here at St. Mary's don't get a lot of opportunities to travel outside of, maybe the five-state area. So for them to be able to go down to Texas and play a couple of games against teams that they have never faced before and may never face again, kind of a neat experience for them and a good bonding opportunity for the team. So nice way for them to kick off the season, and hopefully Coach Landrum can give us some insights on what his plans are during their downtime down in Texas.
That's right, and so we'll have Todd on, get you caught up on the new look Cardinals men's squad this year. And Donny, you and I will talk a little bit about the women's basketball season as they begin next Tuesday, right before Thanksgiving. They tip things off, and Coach Mandy Pearson, kind of a new look there, as well as she's got a whole lot of guards that she has to figure out where to put on the floor.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting to think about, hard to believe that basketball season is here, but yet they've been practicing for a full 4 weeks now, and both teams I know are very excited to get on the court and in a game setting. The men have played an exhibition game and had a couple of scrimmages. The women have had a couple of scrimmages, but for the men coming this weekend, it's for real, and next Tuesday for the women at Elmhurst, it's for real, and the season gets underway. But it really is hard to believe that we're talking winter sports when it seems like the fall just began and we just started our year of the show.
Yeah, and all of the fall sports have pretty much now concluded as cross country wrapped up a regional tournament competition, and we'll get you caught up on that a little bit later on here in the Cardinals Nest. But we start out with the previous week in St. Mary's sports, and Donny, we begin with men's hockey action. They had a huge away home matchup with Hamlin, the 10th ranked team in Division III, and a conference opponent to boot as the conference season gets underway now. And they had to go to Hamlin to start the conference season off, and that was a Friday night contest, and it seemed like in that one they were always having to play catch-up a little bit, and in fact they had to play catch-up pretty much from the opening face-off as Hamlin scored just 20-some seconds into that Friday night contest.
Yeah, it certainly makes it difficult to play when you're always playing from behind, and you're right, it was one of those things where they'd get close, Hamlin would score. They'd get close, Hamlin would score. They did actually get it even at 3-3, but then Hamlin scored the next 3 goals to take a 6-3 advantage and hold on for a 6-4 win. Unfortunate for Coach Moore because I think he felt that the team certainly stacked up well against Hamlin, and I think that really showed on Saturday when they returned to Winona and the St. Mary's Ice Arena and played to a 4-3 loss in overtime. But that was a game that really the Cardinals came out strong early on, took a 2-0 lead in the first period, and unfortunately weren't able to hold on to it and battled to a 3-3 tie in regulation, and then Hamlin scored real quick in overtime to get the victory. But from a standpoint of Friday night to Saturday, I think that Coach Moore certainly was more happy with the way that they played on Saturday. But Coach Moore, and when we have him on, he'll be the first to say it is it's not about the moral victories. He needs wins in the W column, and right now they're still looking for that.
Yeah, I had a chance to see Saturday's game, so we'll talk more about that in just a minute. You had a chance to see Friday's game, and that was in the brand new ice rink there in Vadnais Heights. Tell us about the rink.
Oh, it's a beautiful facility. They just built it a couple years ago. They've got 2 sheets of ice, and they've got a full indoor soccer field as well as a smaller soccer field. It's a great facility, really nice for Hamlin. The nice thing that we have here, and we talked about this last week, is that's a beautiful facility, but it's 20 minutes away from campus. So for Hamlin to practice or whatnot, they've got to actually drive to get to practice, whereas at St. Mary's, you've got the rink right there, so the players can not worry about having to travel all the time to get to their rink. And I think from a fan standpoint, the fans at St. Mary's were much better, much more vocal than they were up at Hamlin. So it was certainly a good atmosphere on Saturday, and both games were great games, and I think that that's the way the season is going to be. That's the way it's going to be for women's hockey. I'm sure when we bring Coach Landrum on, he's going to say the same thing for men's basketball and women's basketball. The MIAC is a great conference, but it's also very competitive, and there's going to be a lot of games for this men's hockey team that are going to be 4-3, 3-2, overtime, that kind of thing. Right now, what they've got to do is figure out a way to get that overtime to be a victory rather than a loss.
Well, they're certainly spreading out the scoring in that 6-4 loss on Friday night, Donny. Total of 10 goals scored in that game, all 10 by different players for both Hamlin and St. Mary's. That's relatively rare, isn't it, when you have 10 goals?
Absolutely. And when you look at, right now, you look at St. Mary's through their first 6 games, they have not had a multiple goal scorer. So they haven't had a player score 2 goals in a game through those first 6 games. That can be good and that can be bad. You know, on the good side, you're spreading it out. It isn't one line that's doing all the offensive work for you. It's not a set of defensemen that's doing all the offensive work for you. It's a good mix. On the reverse side, you certainly need some people to be putting more offense, scoring more goals, and you know, I think it's still early. You know, they're 6 games in, and they've only played 2 conference games, so there's still some tinkering with the lineup and whatnot. But you know, I know Coach Moore is happy with the performance. It's just a matter of getting that win to show for their efforts. Well,
and then in that Friday night contest, too, as you said, the Cardinals jump out to that 2-0 lead. I want to talk about that first goal by Kevin Wentland. He took a pass about half the rink from Bob Marks. That was just a rocket of a pass. Bob was kind of surveying the rink, trying to find someone open, saw Kevin, and just rifled a pass to him. Kevin said he kind of trapped it in his shin guards a little bit there, and then was able to.
It was a great play, and really it was the thing that kind of got the Cardinals going. You know, it's one of those things. You're coming off a 6-4 loss. You feel the pressure because you don't want to come home, your home opener, and not play well. And so after a little bit of a feeling out process, I think that really sparked St. Mary's. And that first period, they played out amazing hockey. And you know, the goal from Kevin got things going. And Bob Marks is turning out to be a really phenomenal defenseman. A very good job. And really, the defensemen, all 6 of the players that have played have done a really good job on the blue line, and I know Coach Moore is very happy with the way they're performing. You know, when you look back to the Superior game, all 4 goals that St. Mary's scored were from defensemen. So you know, they're getting some good offensive opportunities from their defensemen, and you know, hopefully that'll carry over as the season progresses.
Well, I told Kevin, I said I was impressed by the goal, more impressed by the fact you stopped that puck and controlled it than anything. And the other thing, after he scored, he tries to do the Lambeau leap over the plexiglass into the student section.
I think you forgot there was plexiglass there, and the Lambeau leap kind of hit a wall there when you hit the plexiglass. But you know, it's important for the fans to get involved, and I think that as we were talking off camera, I think that's what Kevin was trying to do. You know, he was celebrating his goal, but also trying to share it with the fans and get them involved and have them a part of the atmosphere. And you know, in all sports, the players feed off of the atmosphere that the fans create, and so you know, hopefully that can continue. Everybody that I talk to, any team it is that we have, they love to play at home, and it has nothing to do with necessarily hopping on a bus or whatnot. But it's, you know, they like that atmosphere. They like to be playing here where their home crowd can be on their side and really give them a good boost, and I think that Kevin was just trying to give that back a little bit.
Donny, 2 questions for you. How disappointed was the team in that overtime loss to Hamlin on Saturday night, and can they rebound now facing a very good Milwaukee School of Engineering team, one that's ranked 9th in the country, coming up here on Tuesday and Wednesday right before Thanksgiving?
I think you know, having Joey on the team and talking to him after the game, you know, it was a very tough loss. You know, very hard, one that is hard to take because you know, they had a couple of really good scoring opportunities late in that game in regulation that you know, could have given them the win, and then for Hamlin to really get a lucky break, and that Andy Scheid made a great save on the initial attack by Hamlin, and the rebound just happened to go right to their player, and he had an open net to put it in overtime. So it was tough to take, but I think they can also understand that they played well. Hamlin's the defending conference champion. They're the defending conference playoff champion, so they're a very good team. They're one of the teams that are picked to finish very high in the conference again this year. So I think, if nothing else, as I'm always looking at the glass half full, there's a lot of positives you can take from that. Now, the question, your answer to your second question is, the road certainly doesn't get any easier. No. You go from the 10th ranked team in the country to the 9th ranked team in the country, a team that split with Adrian, which went to the national finals last weekend. MSOE did that. So it's going to be a very tough road to hoe, and I would expect that when we're back on the air taping again, we're going to be talking about another 2 more very, very close games.
Yeah, all right. So, and that's coming up. They're off this weekend, the men's team. They play Tuesday night, 7:30 p.m. at the St. Mary's Ice Arena against the Milwaukee School of Engineering. And then Wednesday afternoon, and that will be right here on HBC Channel 25, 2 o'clock face-off.
2:30, and that's another
Wednesday.
interesting thing we talk about is that they've got to turn around and play at 2:30 in the afternoon game. You play at 7:30, you get done, probably get back to your rooms about 11 o'clock, and then you've got to get up and play again at 2:30 against a very physical team like MSOE. It's going to be a battle, those 2 games. And then you add on to that the fact that it's a Tuesday, Wednesday rather than a Friday, Saturday. It may not seem like a lot, but players are creatures of habit. So.
Right, and the students are off, of course, for Thanksgiving break, so they won't have that advantage either. But women's hockey now, Donnie, they also took on Hamline University, and Friday night, a great win for the Cardinals as they pull out a 1-0 thriller. They got the goal in that first period and made it stick.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. You score 1 goal in the first period. I'm sure Coach Manor would have never believed that that 1 goal in the first period was going to stand up for a 1-0 victory. And talking to Coach Manor after the series, they scored 2 goals. They scored 1 goal in each game, and yet they came away with 3 conference points. So, 3 conference points. So he is very happy about that. Obviously, he wants more offensive output. Brittany Therian got the goal on Friday night, and then Haley Coolset scored on Saturday. So it was, 2 people that hadn't scored yet. So, like the men, it's good that they're spreading their offense around. But 2 goals in 2 games isn't going to do you too much good as the season progresses. They're going to certainly need to score more than that. But as he said, I'll take 3 points at every conference series and be very happy.
Yeah, it was a 1-1 the next night then on Saturday, and Sarah Gustafson, who we had here on the Cardinals Nest a few weeks ago, she certainly is doing her part early in the season. She looks very strong in goal for the Cardinals.
Absolutely, and their defensemen as well. We always credit the goalies when it's a 1-0 game and a 1-1 game. You give credit to the goalies, but the defensemen also are doing a very good job. And I know that's the first thing that Coach Manor will say is they're forcing their opponents to take shots that St. Mary's wants them to take, rather than giving them good scoring opportunities in the middle of the ice. So a lot of the opportunities that Hamline did have were outside, and the defenseman did a nice job of moving people out from in front of the net, letting Sarah see the puck. And Sarah's a very talented goalie. You let her see the puck, her get square to the puck, she's going to make that save 9 times out of 10.
Donnie, one player I'd like your thoughts on because she always seems to be around the puck. A new player this year for the Cardinals, Mary DiBartolo, seems to really be playing well. She got an assist in that Friday night game.
Yeah, and Mary's just one of several freshmen that are really doing a very good job for Coach Manor. And one of those things, I think you're going to see more of her offensive play, Brianna Peterson as well, the more games that they play. You bring a freshman into a program, they need a little bit of time to figure out. The speed is different. It's certainly a much faster game than they're probably used to. So there's an adjustment period, and I think that we're going to be talking. We're going to be talking a lot about Brianna and several of the others as the season progresses and they become more comfortable in their roles and in what's expected of them from Coach Manor.
Mm-hmm. And I think it seems like Terry Manor early in the season does the hockey coach experiment with different lines as far as who's on the line or playing time, things like that?
Very similar to most sports in that you're always looking. You look at soccer, you're always looking at what would be a good lineup, a good group of 11 to put out there. Same with basketball. You're always tinkering with who should be the starters, who should be coming off the bench. Hockey's very similar. You've got basically 4 lines, and you can intermix people and see what people. It's all about chemistry. Who works well with who. Is this person a good shooter? Is this person a good passer? Is this person fast? Is this person not so fast? So there's always those things that you kind of look at, and you're looking for that mesh of putting it all together. And once you do, I think you'll find that the lines will pretty much stay the same as long as you get that chemistry going.
All right, and the women's hockey team, they actually play this upcoming weekend. They stay in conference play, right?
Yeah, they've got St. Catherine this weekend, a big series for them. St. Mary's took 3 points from St. Catherine last year, so this three-point thing is carrying over from a year ago. But St. Catherine's a very good team, and Coach Manor, they play up in the cities, up at Mariucci Arena where the Gophers play on Friday night, and then they're back here Saturday afternoon at 4 o'clock. Two very important conference games as they get ready for for the Thanksgiving break as well, because then they'll be off until the following week.
All right, good luck to the Cardinals women's hockey team this weekend against St. Kate's. We transition now to swimming and diving action, and the women divers and swimmers, Donny, they had a dual meet with Concordia at home at the Jewel Gurnis Pool at St. Mary's, right on the campus there, and a pretty impressive performance by the Cardinals, even though Concordia did pull out the win in that one.
Yeah, I talked to Coach Lindquist actually this morning, and he was very happy with the way that they competed. To get 5 first-place finishes off a team as talented as Concordia is certainly a very big positive. And early in the season, you want to get those competitions in there. Obviously, Coach Lindquist would have loved to have us talk about some W's in dual meets, but 5 first-place finishes. Liz Flynn, as we've talked every week, she's doing phenomenal in the diving, sweeping that, and then Linda Tierney had a couple of firsts as well. And now they head into a very busy weekend. They've got a dual meet on Friday up in St. Paul against McAllister, and then they take part in the McAllister Invitational on Saturday. So it's a very busy week for them as they begin their preparation in terms of getting ready for the conference championships. Hard to believe we're already talking about that, but it's the first time that they'll actually compete back-to-back days. And as Coach Lindquist tries to do that a few more times, because the MIC championships are actually 3 days in a row. So for them to compete one day after the other just kind of gets them a feel for what it's going to be like when they get into mid-February in the conference championships.
Right. Yeah, great idea. And the men's swimmers, they were off. The last action they had was back on November 8th in that Hour of Power at St. Mary's.
Yep, so they're ready to go. They're a little bit rested, probably trained very hard, but rested and ready for a competition this weekend.
Right, going up against McAllister this weekend. And then finally, Donny, we have regional action in cross country to talk about.
Yeah, the end of the fall season is officially here. The cross country teams competed at the regional championships, with the men finishing 16th and the women 23rd. I talked to Coach Barrett afterwards, and he was fairly pleased with the way that they competed. I think he would have liked to seen the guys move up a couple of spaces from that 16th spot, but the times were very good. David Feather, of course, led the way for the men. David had a great collegiate career here, and for him to do very well in his final meet is certainly nice to see. And Katie Stoles, freshman, again, the second meet in a row that she led the Cardinal women, and awesome for her as a freshman to be the team's leader, both at the conference championships and then here at the regional. So a good thing as they head into the offseason and into next year, having that freshman really step up and do well.
All right, I want to bring Todd Landrum in here in just a minute, Donny, but the women's basketball team, they also tip things off next week on Tuesday as they take on Elmhurst College there in Illinois, so a road start for the Cardinals. And kind of a different look this year for Mandy Pearson's team. They have a lot of guards out there, and she'll have to figure out how they fit into that lineup.
And it goes back to that question you were asking about, hockey lines. It's the same thing here with Coach Pearson. She's got to, figure out who fits in where, and she's got certainly some spots that she needs to fill with the graduation of Jess Miller and Kim Kaminsky and Sherry Kulig. That's 3 people that were in the lineup from start to finish. So she's got to replace them. Jamie Steffley is back after a knee injury, and Coach Pearson says she's looking very good. Jess Thone returns. Emily DeWitt is back, and then we've got several new people who will need to kind of fit in there and see what kind of a lineup will be successful for them. I know that Coach Pearson's very excited for Tuesday's game, just like I'm sure Coach Landrum is for this weekend. Just in fact of getting the season going and getting that first game or first couple games under their belt, because November 30th they start conference play. So it's not a lot of tune-up in terms of actual playing time before they get into conference play.
Comes up fast, and we'll talk to men's basketball coach Todd Landrum next here on the Cardinals Nest.
When the puck drops, there's only one place to be. For Gopher hockey, the excitement, the passion, the rivalries. Big hit there. Only on Fox Sports North. Big Monday. The home court of Super Tuesday. The home court of Wednesday Night Hoops. The home court of Thursday Night Showcase.
You serious?
The home court of Saturday Primetime.
Oh, my goodness.
ESPN, the home court of college hoops. Be there all season long on ESPN and ESPN2.
And we're back here on the Cardinals Nest. Dean Beckman along with Sports Information Director Donny Nadeau, joined now by head men's basketball coach Todd Landrum. Todd, thanks for joining us again here on the Cardinals Nest. And you're in your 4th season now as Cardinals head coach. Is there a better time of year than right before the start of the season?
I really love it because every year at this time I'm undefeated, and so I'm always looking forward to it. We might ruin things this weekend, but right now we're pretty, it's fun to play.
Yeah, well, let's hope not, because this weekend you get to go, you open the season down south in the Dallas, Texas, Irving, Texas, and it's the University of Dallas Tip-Off Classic tournament down there, and you start things off right away with the host school, University of Dallas.
In those tournaments, Dean, the host school usually says, okay, who's the worst team? So we'll play them, so we're like the homecoming game, but we don't care. We just want to play.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit, Coach. We've talked off camera before. Every year, you've got a new group of people, a new mix of people. You got some faces that you're used to seeing there, but you don't see anymore. As you prepare for Friday, talk a little bit about the team that you have this year and what fans can expect when they watch the Cardinals play.
Well, I think one of the things that we really notice now that we've recruited all of these players is the improvement that we have seen. Mike Burfine from Lewiston, he had a tremendous game and scrimmage in the last couple of weeks. He's really emerged as quite a multi-dimensional post player, inside out, a lot stronger, runs. Just really excited about where Mike's come from. Pat Freeman, who's probably the hardest working young man I've had since I've been here and the best leader. 7 days a week all summer, no one's dedicated, has a terrible knee, may never play again after this year, but he had 27 the other night. And as one of my assistants said, they were out on the street corner in Concordia, we're heading the bus, and a couple of local fellows were saying that cat can play. And so it was good for him and his confidence. And then we have a lot of freshmen. We brought in some really good freshman guards who we're going to throw right in there. But I like them because they're quick, they're strong, they handle the basketball, and we probably have a true point guard that he's not very big. We'll be lying about his height all year, but he's got a huge heart, and he's fun to watch.
And distributing the ball, obviously, when you've got people like Pat and Michael to get the ball too. I know you were talking that Evan Pedersen is one of those people that can do a good job of seeing the floor and getting the ball where it needs to go.
Well, Evan's a 4-year starter from La Crosse Aquinas, who won last year's Wisconsin State Championship, where he set a state tournament assist record. Really sees the floor, quick off the dribble. And one of the most important things in a basketball is not only being a good passer, but having a passing mentality and understanding, seeing 2 or 3 passes ahead, much like a quarterback. And that's what he gives us, along with Lamont Hall from Minneapolis De La Salle. 2 outstanding guards from great programs, and they're used to winning.
Coach, one of your philosophies is the open man philosophy, and that is whoever's open needs to step up.
Right.
And this year you're going to distribute the ball a lot more. You have guys like Evan who can distribute the basketball, and so everyone's got to show up on every single game night ready to be the player that takes charge out there.
Well, we have two themes this year. One is TNP, the next possession, and I relate that to my golf game. I shank a shot, so I've got to forget it and just get ready for the next shot. The second part is our best player will be the open man. I've sensed an unselfishness and a willingness to share the ball with this team, and I think that's a theme. I think that will build trust, and I have to develop confidence, let these guys know I'm confident that they can do it and they can hit the open shot. Mm-hmm.
Talk a little bit, you had your exhibition game against Concordia St. Paul, and what really impressed me was the play of Pat Freeman, and I know you mentioned it a little bit, his hard work. He was one of those guys that was able to kind of stay in the shadows of the past 3 years. He scores 27 against a very good Concordia St. Paul team. He's not in my shadows anymore. Obviously, you've known that he can play this way?
I wished when Pat arrived that he did not defer as much as he did, because quite honestly, he was probably a better player than several of the guys that were getting the minutes. and he deferred because he's such a team guy, as much as I tried to push him to not defer. But now those days are over because there's nobody to defer to. So I'm happy that Pat will have this opportunity.
Coach, talk a little bit more about this tournament. What are some of the things you're hoping to come out of there with, other than victories, of course? And you've got the University of Dallas on the opening night Saturday, then Sunday you take on Austin College.
Right. I think, Dean, a couple things. Number one is just giving our Division III athletes the opportunity to be Division I for a few days, okay? The second thing, it's always fun to go to a different part of the country. It's fun to play teams, as Donny alluded to, play teams that probably won't play again for a while. And then the bonding early in the season is critical. That's why I like to have an away scrimmage or an away exhibition game. Get on the bus, be together, have to depend on each other. And I think all of those are opportunities for us to grow quickly. And it'll just be fun to be in a different place. And we're going to go to Texas Stadium, you know, Jerry Jones VIP tour. I don't think Jerry's going to be there, but we're getting a VIP tour.
At least you get in his suite, maybe, right?
Yeah, you'll have to sneak in. Right. I hope there's some food there. The other thing is we're going to try to, there's a couple historical things we'd like to do. More for me, the Kennedy type things. We may go to TCU. I have a connection. We're kind of just try to mix it up a little bit. We'll go to TCU, maybe check out the educational opportunities, or maybe the guys will just want to do some student viewing, possibly, as young men will do. But we're not sure. Just hope it's a good experience all around for everybody.
You know, we've always talked on this show about how good the MIAC is, and again, this year's is no different. But when you've got to have the defending national champion in your conference in St. Thomas, does that really speak well for how tough this conference really is?
I think it speaks well for the. I think so in many regards. I was in another league where we had several national champions. I personally would not pick them as the top team in our league this year. I think Augsburg is loaded. I think St. Olaf will have the best team they've had in 20-some years. I did not vote them. They did not get my vote for number one. But it does give our league a good reputation. I think Midwest Division III basketball is among the finest in the country, and we're a part of that.
And of course, you tip off the conference season November 30th when you take on Carleton College, and then one of the top teams you talked about, St. Olaf, they're the first conference home matchup this year on December 3rd.
Wonderful scheduling by the league. But like I tell players, you got to play them one way or the other. We just have to learn to play off the bus, and if we do that, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and that St. Olaf matchup, I believe that's a women's-men's doubleheader that day, and we'll have that right here on HBC. So, Coach, as we wrap things up here on the Cardinals Nest, look ahead to the season. What are some team goals that you have for this year?
The next possession.
Yep.
I think we do this in life. We do this in so many things. We're going to take care of what's with it now. You know, we're going to, as we talk, Coach Kevin talks about, we're going to play in the present. And I think I don't like to refer to the past, and this is the only time I will. But I think at times we kept looking ahead last year because we had that tremendous start. And I think you have to capsulize and say, what am I have to do right now?
Right.
So we're not going to talk about anything but the next possession. And it might be somewhat trite or coach speak, but in athletics and as in life, it's what it's about. That's what you have to do.
Right, it's true. Yeah, absolutely.
That'll help our young team stay focused, I believe.
Yeah. All right, great. Thanks for being on the show, and best of luck the rest of the season here.
Thank you. Thank you for doing this show. It's a wonderful exposure for our athletes.
All right, thank you. Todd Landrum, the men's basketball coach, and thanks for watching the Cardinals Nest.